My name is Mr. Mohammad Ashraf Anjum. This is my story for the Colorful Heritage Project. I came from a small town called Chishtia, which is in district Bahawalnagar. Our family used to live near Sheikhupur. They had landed property there. But in 1927-28, when they started settling the Bahawalpur state, lots of people have migrated from the different areas of the Punjab to Bahawalpur, and my family has also migrated from there to Chishtia. They had bought some land, which was, I think, in 1929 or something. So our family was in Pakistan before partition. I have a vivid remembrance of partition. We were in Lahore at that time, and I was about 5 years old. I remember even vividly when Qaid-e-Azam had died and his body was brought to Karachi, and when he was buried, we were standing in one of the roads. But I was with my father, who was working in railways. My father was educated, not very highly, but I think he was metric in the old days. So we stayed in Lahore, Karachi, and then lately, before retirement, my father was in Samasatta. So I was with him. I studied in Karachi, then in Bahawalpur. I did my metric graduation from Bahawalpur. Then I went to Punjab University, Lahore, for my master's in economics. I finished my master's in 1965. I think every parent wants their children to go into education, have a good education. They will put their children to the school, hoping that they will keep on passing, hoping that they will get some good results, and some do, some don't. And I think I was lucky that I kept on passing my exams and going through the classes. When you are just a graduate or master from Pakistan, it is very difficult to give you a direct admission into either master's or PhD. I had a couple of friends who were a year senior to me in the university. They had come over here to study, and I wanted to come as well, so I was in communication with them. So I applied and I got an admission with Glasgow University for diploma in development planning. I applied for it and I got the admission in 1966, but unfortunately in those days to get a passport was a very big thing, and so I couldn't get my passport in time. So I had to delay my arrival here for another year. So I came here in 1967. I came from Karachi to London, from London to Glasgow by plane. And from Glasgow airport, there used to be a bus coming to St. Enoch Square in those days. It used to be a big bus station in those days. And as I was going to go to Share Brothers, because I had a reference letter from somebody, from their family. So I took a bus from there to where the community center of the Central Mosque is now. And first person I saw there was Munawwar Hayat. And he had a Pakistani flag, so I asked him, I want to go to that place. He said, it's our place, so I went there. Now, as I say, I had a few friends who were here before me, and obviously because they were here year before me, they had quite a few other friends, and there were lots of Pakistani students, even Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and that wasn't Bangladesh in those days. And the next day I went to university and met few friends, and it was just a normal going to the university. I mean, university life education life is always brilliant. You enjoy it. You have to study, obviously, but you enjoy it. You have many worries. But for me, I had to make my living as well. So I used to work as well in the afternoon. after finishing the university. But still, I mean, university life is a university life. Even college life or school life, I mean, education life is different than your normal working life. I mean, I was working with the Share Brothers part-time because I used to go to the university. So I used to finish the university about 4:30. I used to go there. They used to work up till 8, half 8 in those days, 7 days a week. And then Saturday, Sunday, the university was off, so I used to work there. But I can tell you a small joke. I used to smoke in those days as well. Afzal and I were looking for a room for me to stay in when I came in the beginning. So one day we were sitting with a friend in a flat, and there was a room available, so we were talking about it. My cigarettes were finished. So I said to Afzal, I'm going to go downstairs to buy some cigarettes. He said, I'll get it as Pakistani sort of thing. You are a new person. I said, hey, yaar, you don't smoke, so why should I bother you? He said, okay, if you understand what the girl is asking for you for the money, you pay, otherwise I'll pay it. So we went downstairs, asked for the cigarette in English, because I knew that working. When I got the answer, I said, how much? She said, 2 and tap in Sepni. And I just did like the way you done it just now, because I didn't have a clue what it meant. So I said to Afzal, come and pay it. Because glass vision was so difficult in those days. 2 shilling, 2 pence and half pence. 2 and tap in Sepni. In those days, 16 shilling used to make a pound. So 2 and tap in Sepni used to be a packet of 10 cigarettes in those days. I did my diploma, which used to be for 2 years, but I did it in 1 year and completed in 1968. After completing that, I applied for a course for Masters in Economics by Research in Strathclyde, where I was given the admission, and I worked there for about 4 years. I mean, there were lots of students in those days. I mean, I remember we used to have a society. In those days, they had one society between Glasgow University and Strathclyde University. There was Samsa and Gamsa in those days. So it was one Pakistan Society or something like that, they used to call it, if I remember right. And there used to be about roughly 150 to 200 students from Pakistan, and even from East Pakistan in those days, which it used to be, which became Bangladesh afterwards. It was a considerable number because lots of students used to come. There used to be some government scholarships, some British Council scholarships, and some like me who came on their own expenses. First of all, in those days, most of the students, as I told you, were coming from Pakistan. As far as we were concerned, I mean, they were coming from India and all other countries as well. So their main aim was education. In most cases, after education, they went back and they served the country, or they went abroad to some other countries, whichever way it went. I mean, it varies from person to person. But lots of people did go back in those days. Because they were on certain scholarships and they had a commitment with the government that they will come back after the completion of their education. I did my master's MSc by research in agriculture and development planning in Pakistan. After completing that, which I completed I think in 1972 December, in February I went back to Pakistan. I applied for a job through a friend, which was just a joke at that time. And luckily I got the job as the assistant director in State Bank of Pakistan. So I worked there for about a couple of years. But the things were not very easy in those days. It was Bhutto Saab's regime, and everything was on ration. I was based in Karachi. I had no car, had to travel by buses. Job was 9 to 5 every day, and I got fed up. So I couldn't go into the lines of the Russians, and I decided to come back. So I came back in 1975. I knew Glasgow because I've already stayed here for 5 years. It's better to go the place where you know when you are going afresh than to the place where you don't know anybody. I mean, I didn't take up a job. I took took up a shop in Air, which Rafiq Sher actually had a shop. He gave it to me. That he said, go on and run that shop yourself. And I started my, working life from there. And when I came over here, I had two daughters. I bought a small house there, which was a one-bedroom and living room house without any bathroom or anything in Prestwick, which I got renovated and moved the family over there. After that, I worked for one company, and then I think in 1983, I opened up a small cash and carry of my own. It started actually from where at the moment the Bonanza is just next to Bonanza. There was a small portion of it. Bashir Wan used to have the big one, and I had the small one from him. I rented it from him and I opened up there. I used to sell hardware fancy goods. Man Sahab used to sell clothing. It done well. I mean, business is business. I got sort of greedy, and there was a big building going for sale which I took in, and we moved over there. We had a partnership with another gentleman. We moved there in 1985, but it was too big, and we had spent a lot of money on the purchase of that plus the renovation of that, and that gave us a problem with our cash flow. So ultimately we had to leave that business. From the cash and carry, I then bought a shop. As I said, I went into a rough area because at that time I was almost penniless. So a friend of mine, I think you know Maqbool Rasool, he had a shop in Barlanak. I took it over from him and started working there. That was in 1987. Then I bought his next door shop, which was a post office and paper shop. But I was so fed up in that area that I wanted to get out of it. So I sold the shop, I think, in 1990 and the post office. And in 1990, I bought a post office in Uddingston, which I kept for over 20 years. So I was glad to come out of that area. Then I had a shop, post office in what you call Campbelltown, which I bought in 92 and sold in 1903. Then I bought one in Alexandria. I bought in 93 and sold it in 1905. And I worked for about a year because Mr. Ramzan of United, he was wanted to open a hardware cash and carry sort of thing. And he said to me, if I can work with him for some time. So I worked about a year with him, set up his cash and carry. Then I bought a small place and I opened up a lighting business, which I did until 2006. I sold my post office in 2009, and that was the end of my working life. Pakistani community, as I said, there was mostly the people were here. They were just working hard. Some were doing the jobs in buses. Some were doing the jobs in factories. Some were doing businesses, small corner shops. There were some in the cash and carry business as well in those days. Some of the names I'm sure you would know: Sher Brothers, Mr. Shaheen, Mr. Deen, Nawabdeen. There were some other people as well who were in wholesale business. In 70s, I think Yaqub Ali had come up as well quite a bit. Mr. Man had come up because he had taken up a shop in Argyle Street, and he used to sell drinks as well. Sher Brothers was quite prominent. Mr. Shaheen was quite prominent. Mr. Deen was quite prominent in those days. And with the time, I think the other people came in as well. The Scots, as you know, are very fond of drink. And if the shop hasn't got a drink, the sale would be not that much. So most of the shops who could get the license, they used to get the license, but majority were selling drinks. I don't think that religion was playing a major part in those days. I remember that even in Glasgow, They used to read Eid prayer on Sunday, whether the Eid was on Thursday or Friday or whatever it is. They couldn't take a day off from their work. Sin Mangus. And that's where they used to have functions, Pakistan Day functions, or even Eid prayers. The community spirit was quite good. I mean, I remember in the early days when somebody was going to Pakistan, they used to go by train to London. Lots of people go to the station to see them off because there were not many people living in the area. And those who were going, maybe they were from various villages where most of the people had come from. So they would go and they give their messages and this and that. So there was quite a good community relationship in those days within the community. As I say, I mean, in the beginning, I mean, somebody will come in from Pakistan, they will help him out, they'll tell him what to do, they'll even give him a place to stay for a few days as well till he finds something. Mr. Rafiq Sher, Mr. Fateh Sharaf, Mr. Yaqub Ali, they were the pillars of the community. And they used to help everybody. Fateh Sharaf used to do these bookings for the flights and issue the tickets and things like that. I wanted to invite my parents and I went to him. I said, give me the tickets. He gave me the tickets when I wanted to pay him. He said, just leave it. When they come over here, what we'll do is we'll refund the return ticket and then I'll take the money off you. I mean, nobody nowadays will do that. And they had so much trust in people. Similarly with Rafiq Sher, when I came in with my family, I was staying with a friend who didn't have much of a space because obviously he was just a student as well. And he had just bought a house, but he hadn't moved into it. He had few beds in there. He said, just move over there till you find something for you of your own. So I stayed in that house for about 3 months. And those people, I mean, would do things for the people to help them. Yaqub Ali was again one of these people who wasn't very educated, but he had some vision. I remember him saying to all these big cash and carry people, get together and go into the big business, make a sort of company and start opening large stores because this cash and carry business is not going to survive for long. But nobody listened to him. But he had the vision. He was very visionary. And again, he would help a lot of people. Well, in those days, this was different. But nowadays, I mean, it's much more, what shall I say, economical or what is, people haven't got that kind of feeling for others now. Things do change. I think it's changed in Pakistan as well. I mean, I have been living for the last few years in Pakistan, spending quite a bit of time. It's not the same as it used to be. Some of the scholars have started coming into Glasgow. With their coming and their preaching, people started slowly turning towards Islam. And nowadays, I think it's, I don't know whether 15 or 16 or 17 mosques in Glasgow. In those days, only used to be one. See, when you get older, you get more towards the religion because you see your end near. And I think with that, I mean, a lot of difference. I mean, in Glasgow, I think the Mufti Maqbool Sahib was the early preacher because the Hafiz Shafiq Sahib was there when I came in. And I remember there used to be a mosque just above a Siemens Club. And we used to go to the mosque sometime for prayers. And you would hardly find many people in the prayer. At Jummah, I mean, you would get, 50, 60 people, 70 people in those days. I remember, as I said, the mosque used to be in Oxford Street. From there, they moved on to Carlton Place, and other people in the community who were older than us and also in the businesses and everything else. They had started thinking of building a mosque. They had bought this ground from the council. And I think in 1979, they laid the foundation stone of the mosque. and it completed in 1970, 1983 or 84, something like that. Mr. Shaheen, I mean, he has been very much involved in business and also in mosque. His contribution to the mosque is huge. No matter what anybody says, but he had given a lot to the mosque, time-wise, money-wise, everything. Because he's the guy who had bought that Carlton place. Then he gave it to the mosque. When it was sold, he didn't take any money off that. That money went into the building of the new mosque. But I think the people view was that slowly and steadily the number of the Muslims would increase and they will need a larger mosque. And I think that is true. You can see, I mean, sometimes we don't have enough space in the mosque. Although now there's not only one mosque, but I think, 15, 16 mosques in Glasgow. In spite of that, you haven't got enough space on some particular days. I think with the time, you find that a lot of ladies have started coming into the mosque, which they never used to in the beginning. And that's how I think the people who had thought about that mosque, I think they have done very well that in those days they have built of that size. When this particular mosque was getting built, I mean, everybody was putting their money into it. It was huge in those days. I think it took about 3 million or something in those days, which was a huge amount. And most of that money had come from Glasgow. Alhamdulillah, Glasgow people never went out to, get their donations from outside Glasgow. Whereas all different mosques in UK, Glasgow people have got a share in it. Although it has always been led by the imams, which are Deobandis, but nobody was stopped from praying here. I've seen Shias praying there, I've seen Barelvis praying there, I've seen Hanbali and people from all Shafi'i or other Muslims praying there, and nobody ever objected to them. It was just actually we were sitting some friends and they were all saying about this thing that nothing is happening in the mosque and this and that. So I fought an election in 1992. There was a duration of 2 years in those days, but alhamdulillah it went quite well. I think it's a hard job if you want to give it a sort of justice to it. I think when we came in, we did contribute something. We had outreached the local community and we had made good relations with them from the mosque side as well. I mean, all the council, I mean, you can see in the photos and things, the council, police, and everybody was very cordially inviting us to their functions, and we were inviting them to our functions, and it was a sort of good community relations in those days. But I think the foundation stone which was laid by the people before was quite good, and we had just tried to take it a wee bit further. I've been the president of Islamic Center for 3 terms. 92, 94, 2003 to 2005, 2005 to 2007. I had always fought an election and came into the mosque. Unfortunately, in 2005 to 2007, I had health problems. I had a cervical operation. I mean, in 2005, I think it was October, which I had actually lost all movement of my limbs. But ultimately, with the operation and with the help of Allah, after a few months, came back and started walking. And then in 2007, I had a heart problem. I got a stent put in. With that, I thought, no, it's enough. I don't want to do anything. And I think at that time, I had closed my business and I stopped working. although my post office was running with the staff, it has always been running with the staff, which I sold in 2009. At the moment, in the mosque, it's a different story, because all the executive of the Jamiat is nominated by the trustees, which I don't like, personally. They say that there shouldn't be any elections in the mosque, but I think if there are no election, then you have to bring in the people with their caliber, with their merit, which I don't see happening. I think the whole thing started a few years back, because I think our new imams, they had started talking about it. If the election is not the thing, then what's the procedure? How do you bring in people? Are the present people who are the trustees have the capacity and capability of bringing in the people who have their caliber or who have the talent to run the mosque? That's my question to them. In those days, the Jamiat was all in all. I used to laugh with that because some of the trustees are my close friends. I used to say to them, you are just the chowkidar of a building. You have nothing to do with the running of it. Because their main job, as far as the constitution was concerned, was to look after the building. But as far as the running of the Jamiat or running of the mosque was concerned, that was the job of the Jamiat Ittihadul Muslimin. I think the Central Mosque did a lot of work in charity as well. I remember, if there was any, in the very first time when we were there in 1992 and 94, I think the Bosnian issue was there. The people had given lots of donations, which we sent to through various agencies to the Bosnia. I think the Scottish community is a very friendly community, as I said to you in the beginning. If you compare them with our people in the now KPK, they are the same. People living in the hilly areas, they have got their own clans, they have always been fighting with each other, but they're still very hospitable. So Scots were almost similar to that. Where in Scotland, you see somebody, after half an hour he'll be your chum. In the past, people didn't have enough English to speak to the local people, and with the education of the youngsters, it has changed a lot. In 2009, when I retired, I sold my last business. I had decided that I would do something for my country and the people in the area I come from. It is a very backward area. There's a lot of diseases. People are, not everybody, but lots of people are very poor. As I explained to you, that our forefathers came into Bahawalpur area in 27, 28, 29. If they had bought maybe 2 murabbas, that's about 50 acres of land, by the time it's a 4th generation now. By distributing that, the people have only got, maybe somebody's lucky if he had got 6 or more acres, and you can't survive in those 6 acres with the family. So it's very, very difficult. Luckily, lots of people have been able to send their children either to Karachi or Lahore or some other town, or even abroad in maybe Saudi Arabia, UAE, and these sort of areas to go and work and make some money, as people used to come to Britain in those old days. So I decided that with my little bit of knowledge and a little bit of money I had, I should do something to pay back the motherland and the community I have come from. So we started getting the paperwork ready in 2009. It took me more than 6 to 8 months really to go through all that paperwork, because in Pakistan, bureaucracy is so stupid. you can't really go through it properly. After that, I think in November 2010, we started building the hospital, which completed in 2012. Then the major problem was the doctors, because nobody is willing to come to a small town. They want to go into the big cities where they have all the facilities, all the amenities. So ultimately we got the doctors. We opened up the hospital in May 2013. It's an eye hospital. In the first year we have seen over 23,000 patients. We've done over 1,300 operations. And this year I think we will all, I think, exceed by about 50% of that, inshallah. First, my resources weren't that big that I could have gone in for general hospital. I had started something which, if no help was given to me, I might have been able to start. But alhamdulillah, lots of friends have came out and helped me, and it's going quite well. Secondly, there is a lot of eye diseases in that area. I mean, when the first time when we had opened the hospital, I think first day there were only 24 or 25 patients. And there have been days when had nearly 200 patients in one day. So that shows you that I think in first 6 months we had about 7,000 something patients. And the second 6 months we had over 15,000 patients. Most cases the people have come in by the recommendation of our patients. Those people who have been there, they have gone and told their friends and families, okay, you should go there, it's a good hospital, it's good service there. There is not completely free because it's very, very difficult to make it completely free unless you have millions of pounds. You can't, because our running cost of the hospital is about 7-8 lakhs per month rupees. What we do is, if somebody comes in and say he's eligible for zakat, we'll do it free. There are people who would come in and they say they don't want to take the zakat, but they are not in a position to pay whatever we charge for operations. Then we sit down and talk to them and find out what they can pay. If they say we can pay 1,000, we'll take 1,000. If they say we can pay 2,000, we'll take 2,000. Wherever they agree, we just accept it. We don't throw them out. But our charges are about quarter of the market charges. I feel very humble. I don't think I was able to do this. It is all God, Allah, who made me do it. I mean, in the past, whatever I did, in most cases, it was for me, for my family, making living. Even when you are working in the mosque, you say you for Allah and things like that. But this time, I think this particular project, I think, and I hope, is just for the people. I don't think I was rich enough or capable enough in the sense that I wasn't a doctor. I had no experience of medicine, and when I started this, I had lots of things in my mind, how would happen, how would this go, and how would that go. But I think with the help of God, everything came in. You feel that people are there to give donations to a charity. In most cases, I mean, I think the people give donation without any hesitation when they know the people who are running the charity. I have people came to me out of a blue and saying, we'd like to donate. And Alhamdulillah, uh, we never had a short of funds up till now. I mean, I can tell you, I was at a wedding one day, and a friend came in and he said to me, I heard you are making a hospital. I said, yes. I said, I'd like to donate something. And I just jokingly said to him, I refuse nothing but blows. And he gave me 5 lakh rupees. There are lots of big charities who are doing a charitable work. They are taking donations, and lots of our people give donations to them. And I think some of the charities are doing wonderful work, but they have to survive on paying people their wages and everything else. While we were in Jamiyat, whatever money came in, even for the floods or even the earthquake, not a single penny was spent on administration cost. If we were going from here, not only me, other people from the Jamiyat, we were spending our own money for our tickets, for our stay, for our food, everything, for our traveling, even cars, petrol. Not a single penny was taken from the Jamiyat. If Jamiyat had given £10,000, all the £10,000 will go to the charity. Again, in this charity, we don't have any overheads in the sense. Although we have to pay the doctors, the paramedics and other office staffs, and all those expenses are done from the hospital fund, the charity fund. I mean, if somebody would ask me about 10 years, 15 years ago to do this, I might not be able to do it. But I decided when I retired, and I think I find it worthwhile. I think I'm doing something which is helping the poor people. And it gives me some satisfaction. I mean, in life you get so many moments of happiness, so many moments of sorrowness. It's just very difficult to just say one particular moment of happiness. But I would say that until now, the day I opened the hospital, when my parents died, unfortunately in both times, my father's time and my mother's time, I couldn't be with them. I was here. And when they died, I couldn't see them. And then I think that was the time I felt that I should have been there with them. Yeah. That is, I think, one of the disadvantages of moving abroad, leaving your families back home. I'm a small, human being, came from Pakistan, studied here, worked here, spent my life. I'm not a very rich person, I'm not a very highly literary person, but I've spent my life in a sort of reasonable ease with hardships and everything else, good family, and I think I am thankful to Allah that He has given me the family and the circumstances in which I have lived.